so good to have you back with us. The program is Flipside. We're just getting started, so just stick around and enjoy the show. Learn as much as you can learn. My name is Daisy Obaisegwa, and before I went on that break, I told you I have a special guest in the house, someone you've met before on the show, but it's looking so different to me right now. I'm talking about Dr. Ralph Egato, Professor Ralph Egato, sorry. It's good to have you on the show. It's been so long. Okay, now tomorrow is actually International Education Day, the first one in the world, and Nigeria Permanent Mission is going to be sponsoring this one. Now, coming back home, it's good that we're making our mark in international scene, but let's look at what we have right here in Nigeria at home at present. How would you rate our political will to eradicate illiteracy and improve on education, which is actually the reason why the International Education Day is starting? So how would you rate our political will?
Yeah, I think the political will, let me say good afternoon. Yeah, I'm happy to meet you after a very long time.
A very long time, yeah, same here.
Yeah, let me start by saying that I don't think we have demonstrated enough political will to actually tackle our educational problem in Nigeria. If you look at now, all the various schools, university, polytechnic, they are all on strike. And the allocation for budget it was 26% by standard. But when government gives 7%, 6% every year, it shows that we're not at there. You know, there's most countries in overseas, after this country, the level of illiteracy is very low. If they are not, so if there are any, so they try to encourage them by way of encouraging them school fees, no school fees at secondary level. You understand? Even if you are going to university level, your school fees is reduced. They have lunch for children, and the number of the classroom, the number of students per class is reduced. Like when I did my study, my PhD, you have 10 students in a class. So those are things, but Nigeria here, we're not ready. You know, we don't have classroom. Look at our primary school here in the district. There's no classroom. Are you going to teach students on the bench? Or on the window? I teach University of Benin. Sometimes we get to the university, don't have classroom. It's not a school problem, but it's not a university issue. But the people who are supposed to build infrastructure for the school, primary school, secondary school, universities, maybe they're not doing that. So we are not ready yet, in my view.
Okay. All right, now, why exactly, apart from the government even not doing enough, because even check a lot of private schools, and we want to compare to international schools and put them side by side, they're still failing. So what exactly is wrong with our schools of today? Because my dad will tell me when I was in school, you know, he keeps referring to their time, how education was when he was in the University of Ibadan, how things were, who taught him, how they taught him. He can still remember the things that were taught him till date, and is over 80.
Yes.
What could possibly be wrong with our modern day schools?
One, okay, you are saying that let's compare the private and
the government. Yeah.
Yes. The government primary school and secondary school, they have the most qualified teachers. But what to work with, they don't have it. The encouragement they need, they don't get it. On the other hand, the primary school, they employ teachers, most of them are not qualified. I'm sorry to say, they are not. They are not qualified to teach in secondary primary school. Because there are basic requirements you need to have for you teach in primary or secondary school. Most private schools, because of cost, they want to cut costs. You know, they try to avoid it. For example, I know of somebody who teaches in primary school. During holidays, he's not paid. So the time they are working, maybe 3 months, when they are term, maybe first term, second term, he gets paid. How much is he paid? 20,000, 40,000 a month. That will not take him to anywhere. So he keep on hustling from one place to another to meet. So those are the issue. If the secondary, if the government school can really put their ass together, you have better qualified teachers in primary secondary school. I know that. I passed through government primary school and the government secondary school. I'm in university now. I know what's happening. Throughout my school in university, I went to University of Nigeria, Soka, to do my first degree. I know that I never bought any handout.
Wow.
I never bought handout. I'm not surprised. I'm head department in University of Benin. No lecturer in my department send handouts. You don't do that. So you must go to class and teach. I'm happy that my lecturer who teach under me, they go to class, they teach. You don't give them handout. You can have material. If you want to start, you go and start. But you must come to class and teach. So we don't do handout. In my department, I don't know of others anyway. So that's it. So those are the things. Another thing is that the head, the person who's heading the school, should put something in place. Remember to check the student and lecturer. You see, it's on department in university, some university of Benin, I know. Lecturer don't go to class. You come once and give student handout to it. It is not done. So that's the reason your father, who was taught long time ago, he can still remember what he was taught. But if you just read for the purpose of passing the exam, it might not sink in. You just write and go. That's it. You see, another thing that I fought in the Nigeria system, education system, is our mode of examination. I'll give you where I studied in Russia. From year 1 to PhD level, you do exam. Before I defend my PhD, I did PhD exam. They will, at the beginning of, if you are 100 or 200 level, you are doing maybe differential equation, for example, they will give you the course outline from day 1 to end. After the course outline, they give you 15 questions. And that 15 questions, as you are doing the coursework, you are given an assignment to go answer these 15 questions. But you will answer one after the other. When the semester ends, they what they call group. Because they send it to group. If you have 50 students in a class, in a department, or maybe if I was studying maybe geosurveying at my field, year 1 student, you divide them into, they have to divide into 10 group, 10 each in a group. No, that's 5, these are 50, 10 in a group. They teach these students, this 10 group, they will be from year 1 to final year. They will do assignment together, they are friends. You know, the day of the exam, they will call group 1, not more than 10. It's okay. They will put ballot on the table. The professor taught you, they don't taught you, you don't meet him. You will see other professors sit and say, my friend, come and pick ballot. You pick. And this ballot, those questions I've answered before, they are the questions you're going to answer. So you pick, if you pick question 1, question 3, and question 4, you pick the number answer tape to pick 3 questions. You go to hall and write. Nobody will invite you.
Wow.
Nobody will invite you. Go and copy. You come out, you see what happens later. When you finish your exam, you say something, tell you to wait. You wait. When that finish, everybody has submitted, they will call you. My friend, come. You wrote your answer question 1. My children are fine. Come and tell them what you wrote. So if you copy,
you won't even remember.
If you copy on the internet, you don't remember. If you copy from your friend, you don't remember. There and there, they will tell you have passed or you have failed. And if they give you B instead of A, you have right to defend. Say, excuse me, sir, I deserve A on this course. I did so and so and so and so. They will say, yes, you really deserve it. The issue of script is missing, or my result is missing, or because you are a girl, I like you. This teacher is victimizing me because he approached me. It's not that, because the person you are meeting, you don't know him. So that's why it's working. So, but here, you see, our system will cram, and those equations we are writing, if you write all the equations we write, they don't put all the equations. Do you have idea about the course we have done? You are the things. Here, our mode of education is a little bit different. That's why we're having issues, and we're not making progress.
Okay, now, we did say a few things about, you said some things in the process of answering the question I've asked you. You even told us how modern education should look like.
Yes.
It's a good thing that you schooled in Nigeria. You've also gone outside of Nigeria to school, so you can easily relate to the issues from both sides.
Yes.
But now you talked about overcrowding as one of the modern education issues. Our population is increasing. We're
Yes.
over 200 million.
Yes.
Some statistics will say we are almost 200 million. Some will say we're over 200 million. Some will say we're 200 million. So
Yes.
let's just say, since we don't have a reliable statistics, let's say we're 200 million people, and yet the schools that are in Nigeria, I don't think they've built new government schools. They're still the ones that are there,
Yes.
and it's not increasing now.
Yes.
How do we solve the issue of overcrowding in our schools?
Yeah, the issue of overcrowding.
Because we are still
can-
reproducing enough to bomb.
yes. If we don't want to build more schools, for example, the one we have, let's say improve on it, can build more structures, employ more hands to teach. Like those days, we have, like when Ali, I don't know how old were you then?
Okay.
You have, when the whole population is split, you have a morning and afternoon session.
School, okay.
I remember that because the thing was just to depopulate so that we have few students, and in any way was creating more employment. If you cannot do that, I'm asking us to do afternoon and night and morning, but the one we have, like this is a secondary school as example, we have space. You build more infrastructure and employ more hands to teach students. Imagine somebody, my wife was telling me something like that. Somebody who read microbiology was teaching physics in one secondary school.
Should be teaching biology at least.
Yeah, this is the thing. So if we employ teachers, and if you white men, they believe in specialization. If you study physics in university, you teach physics. It's not that somebody read physics, he did chemistry, I did mathematics, to a very high level. But his area of specialization is physics. He should be allowed to teach physics. So that's the issue. So decongesting our primary secondary education system, also universities, even university too, we need more structure. That's why I'm starting with it. There are so many things they're crying for. We don't have structure, we don't have building. Even lecturers don't even have an office to stay. So that's the thing. Now so you start protecting your strike, university on strike, protecting everybody on strike. Maybe one version of this NSC will join them. So that's the issue.
Okay. Now, on modern education and modern styles of teaching, the UN is pushing for e-learning.
Yes.
The introduction of the internet into basically almost everything that we do in schools. Edo State did try that for the primary school. Took the teachers for trainings, got them tablets that they could use to teach, and the tablet is even so computerized that when you get to school, it signals that you have gotten to school. So if you get to school late, it's also registered that you came late and you turned on the iPad late and all of those. Or are we really ready for e-learning in Nigeria?
The answer is no. Obviously, because when we talk about e-learning, the basic infrastructure you need for e-learning is electricity. Do you have electricity?
No, we don't have light.
We don't have light, zero. Do you have internet? Of course, internet you need electricity to work. So we don't have this. So we are not ready at all. When we say e-learning, we saw it from Brazil, we bring in here. When those things you need to put to place are not working, how will it work? It don't work. We are supposed to be teaching in the university with slide. Most times we don't have light in university. I have a projector that I can use to teach students. But it's not like you'll be sweating teaching. That's the thing. In the university environment, when you enter university environment, as you enter university environment, where I did my PG university, you have internet and I don't pay for. You have access to it automatically. See you are in the environment. You can do what you want to do. But the basic thing we need is electricity. We don't have. How can you run a generator? Can you generate an economy that works with generator? It's not going to work. I don't know. Is government going to continue to promise us they will do that, they are not doing anything? It's very painful. It's painful.
Okay, the program is Flipside and it's International Day of Education we're looking at. It's going to be tomorrow, January 24. So for those who want to watch the live meeting of the UN, you can watch it online if you have lights to power your phones and you have good network in your area, good for you. You could check it up, maybe even join them and watch YouTube live to see what they will be discussing and all of those. But before that day, which is tomorrow, we decided to talk about it right here on Flipside. And together I've been on the show with Professor Raphael Gato, and is a professor of engineering in the University of Benin. They're on strike right now. It's no news. But we'll go on a break quickly. When we come back from that break, we'll talk some more about the International Day of Education. We'll be right back. Okay, now we're talking about the International Education Day, and we talked about some of the problems our schools are having and how modern education should look like. E-learning seems to be top on the list. Now, in a bid to bring modern education to society, the private schools do some things, and we want to analyze them, their ideas of modern education, and the problems it's leading to. Now, first of all, they don't flog in private schools. No flogging of children. Okay, now all these things I'm going to read out were opinions on people that they think are problems instead of solutions. Someone said the idea of bringing modern education is not so bad, but you saying you will not flog children in primary and secondary schools, it's totally unacceptable. What do you think?
I do not believe flogging students. I don't believe in flogging students.
Is it because you schooled abroad?
No, no, they don't. It is barbaric for you to flog. That's not the best way to correct students. There are better ways. You can tell the student to stand up. You stand for some time, tell him to sit. See how to sit down. Not flogging. If you flog, if there's injury, you're in trouble. Those days when secondary school were flogged, I never liked it. So immediately sometimes you want to come to class because you are scared. So flogging students is barbaric. So in my view, barbaric. Why you? The other way of punishing your students. You can say, okay, stand up, go and stand in front of the class. He or she will be there. At some time, so you know what I've done? Say yes, okay. Don't try it again. Flog the student, no. If you do it overseas, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, you could be arrested.
So.
All right, another person said parents are too involved in education right now in private schools. Everything that happens to their children, they're already in school to ask questions. So they want the parents to limit their involvement in.
I was hearing the story where someone told me that her daughter was flogged seriously in school. She has to go there. To embarrass the teacher. Those are one of the reasons for parents going to school to find what's happening. I don't see, except maybe there's a very serious issue. Like for me, I'm a parent. I don't go to my children's school, except that issue. Like, for example, the one time they invited me because I pay for transportation for my children to and fro. They want to increase. I'm paying 2 children. I pay 30,000 naira. It's a 10 for transportation. They said they want to increase the fare from 15,000 naira to I don't know what. I don't know. Ask them. Justify the reason for increasing the cost. They will look at me. They have not increased for a C145. And from my house to my school, to my children's school, I always spend 100 naira, 200 naira to and fro. So in a week, it will give me 500, it will give me 1,000. Wait it?
Yeah.
In a month, it will give me 4,000.
4,000.
In 3 months, it will give me what?
12,000.
You are still having a balance of 3,000. It's not enough for me. They are eating. So sometimes, because of the fact that they try to use that school something as to extort people. Parents must ask questions. You must ask questions. And if your child is not doing well in school, You must ask questions.
Okay.
What's happening? There was another, in that case, I saw the mask. I teach mathematics in the University of Benin. I saw the mathematics they gave to year 2, class 2. I had to ask, can you ask the lecturer, can you do it? Just as if God, let me give you script. You cannot finish. There's a way you motivate students for them to do well. I look at it. A lot of students, and those are the reasons. One of the reasons why students run away from science and mathematics. They had a very bad teacher at my secondary school. They are afraid. So you must go there to ask questions. What is happening? If your child is not doing well, you ask questions. What's happening? What is happening to my son or my daughter? This is the result. What is happening? Is it that he's doing that in school? For you to know them. So I'm not against you as a parent going to school to ask questions about your daughter or son in school.
All right, now in the process of answering this question, you've answered the other one that was also here, where one of the parents was saying that the homework, the assignments given to the children are way too much, because these days you have several textbooks for one subject. So parents end up doing the teacher's work because of too much homework.
I think one of the problems I've identified in this secondary school, the subject they are doing is too much. Most of them are irrelevant. So when you give, because every day teacher will come to school and give assignment, and if you are taking about 26 subjects in a day, and you do assignment, that will be 10 assignment. So sometimes my student will come to me, Daddy, I don't understand this. I will tell you, this is how it is. You must assist because our father, for example, we don't have the opportunity of even getting close to what the way our children are now. You know, I have daddy,
Yeah.
you have. So, but now you can come to daddy, mommy, I have this problem. So I think it's a way of encouraging the student and build them up.
Okay. Now this other one here says the classrooms, especially in private schools now, are overcrowded. You've talked about government schools and how they can sort their issues.
Yes.
But for private schools, they're getting paid a lot of money. So why would they be having overcrowded?
That is the. I don't know whether they have inspector of
for private schools.
The education
No,
inspector.
they don't. They hardly do go there. You just pay your tax and.
No,
that's it.
because they need to be monitored. So like in university, you have NUC, for example, that come to university do accreditation. They want to look at student lecturer ratio. There should something if they don't have. I don't know. I'm not talking primary school, but secondary school. They should have what they call student teacher ratio. In a class, they should number 15 in a class. So if you have class 1, you have so many answers. A, B, C, D. That's how it used to be. I don't know how they did. I don't know how it is.
In my school, we had up to F.
Yeah. So minimum 15 is enough in a class, so that you can the student and the lecturer can relate, understand, and know their problem. Because some students are very intelligent. Before you write one on the board, they know what it's doing. But some of them they are very slow at learning. So if the class is much, you can't really follow up.
Okay. Now this other one here says education is becoming more of an entertainment rather than a learning process, and it's all called extracurricular activities. Every term there's an entertainment event that takes a lot of time in practice.
Yeah, it is not. It's not that I tell me. I don't believe that. Even in the US, for example, I know that they do music.
Okay.
If I go to US, my friend is student. They rap. They take my phone and start rapping as if they are there. So I'll ask him where are you? They say they are teaching them in school. So because actually you don't know what the future of the child is.
Yeah.
So you need to diversify. Not only teaching some mathematics or solving chemistry or there's some things sometimes you last, by making their children. So extra curriculum is for in my own way, for me, I would like to do more, because some students, all those Davido and co, they are musicians. Maybe they got this from me. They got this this skill in the church or in school, but you can see where they are today. So, in my own case, when you design timetable, the time for play, the time for education, for serious academic work, it should be there. I do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, on the last two before I'll move on to the next questions. In private schools, students don't fail.
I don't think that is correct.
Now,
I don't think that is correct.
Okay.
Because I'm not speaking for them. I don't believe that is correct. Because if you write the exam, if you fail, you have failed. So, but I have not seen any person doing repeating the class.
No, maybe not in the what the person might. I think what she meant was maybe they don't allow them repeats. Everybody is promoted to the next class, or they don't fail external examinations like WAEC, NECO, and all of those.
That's an examination. So many things behind that. Some principals recently were suspended.
Yeah.
And it tell on us in the university when they come to us. Those people that pass exam, pass right to WAEC, we know. If you write simple equation on the board, you do nothing. So I know that business is existing in secondary, but
Private schools.
Private schools, even in government schools. Yes. Some people they will leave they did secondary school in Guinea City. They will go to my village and write right.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've
So
seen that.
so see, but at the end, when you come to university, we see them. We see them because they'll say that I had one of my students called. They'll say, my friend, you got 10 over 100 in my exam.
Wow.
I said, and what happened? He said, if he read, he doesn't understand. I went to his wife result, so I called his file. I saw A's.
How did
So
you read
if I
them?
compare my wife result on his own is better than mine. I'm seeing it. But he can't pass my course because I do not believe that he actually wrote that by himself. If you have A2 mathematics, for example, and you go to university, you have issue mathematics. There's problem.
Shouldn't. Okay, now there's also the introduction of midday meals in private schools. They now cook for the students. I know even the government tried to introduce that with school feeding for children, but it happens much more in the northern parts than right here. I don't think there's any government school in Nigeria, in Benin, that gets free food, but people do that. Is there anything bad with that?
In my opinion, we have not matured enough to start doing feeding. Put that money on education, develop the school. Use that money to pay their school fees. They have free education, so that children can come to school. Not food. How much? It's food. So, as I'm concerned, the different government is doing it. I'm not against it, but I don't support it because you can use that money to develop this school. When you have developed the school is not up to standard. They want to introduce feeding later. Pay teachers very well. Give them good salary. So if you give a good salary and they will deliver, then they'll give you that money to pay to feed children. If you report, I saw them sometime when the intervention with them, when she can't afford to eat. If you qualify, it's more than 200 naira, but go and find out the cost.
Okay, now let's move on now to the budgets of education. We want to sort all the problems we're having as regards education, and from research, sorting all of these problems would involve a lot of money. Now, the highest amount of money that has been channeled into education was given in 2013. The budget for the country for that year was about 4 trillion naira, and 392 billion was allocated to education. It wasn't even up to 10%, which is still low for the UN. The UN says 26% of your budget should be for education. But from 2013 till now, it just keeps dropping. In 2016, we had about 369 billion allocated for education. In 2017, we had 540 or 550 billion allocated for education. And in 2018, which is where all the big issues are arising from, we had about 605.8 billion naira allocated for education, which is just 7% off the budget. Not up to 15, not up to 10, not up to 18, not talk less of 26%. Now, the issue is not the amount of money, the 600 and something billion, compared to the amount in the budget and the needs the education sector is facing. ASU says it's small. I have a lecture here, and this budget of 605.8 billion is to settle 36 federal universities, it's to settle 25 federal polytechnics, it's to settle 22 federal colleges of education. At the same time, it's to settle 104 federal unity schools, that's for secondary schools. What do you say with this money?
You know the answer. I think it's a design plan to keep federal education system. That's my belief. Because if we can't get to 26% as recommended by the UN, and each time we have 5%, 6%, the strike will going to continue, and every year, and we're going to be losing. Education going to depreciate. But education needs funding. You need really funding for you to achieve what you want. If every year and you are going back instead of improving on what you have. If you have 7% last year, this year we should expect at least maybe 8% or 9%. You are climbing that ladder. I know it's not enough, but you are going back. So I'm sure it's a grand design to keep federal education system. Well, that is the school where the poor make a take education to. At the time they want to add school fees of poor. So yeah, so I don't know because I don't understand because if we say we are reducing the budget for education, what that means to me is that we are designing actually to collapse the education system. I say it. I'm not on air. I'm on air. I'm head of department. We don't have money to run department. It's as bad as that. But there's no money in the system. So if that last year budget is more than this year, then we're going to be in crisis. So when I see people blaming ASU, I just laugh at them. ASU want the best for this country. Those days when we were young, people from Cameroon, from Ghana, they come to our university to study.
Like Ghana has about, they budgeted 14% of their budget to education last year.
Yes.
14%.
So you can see. We don't have classrooms to teach. Lecturer don't have. I'm a professor today. My office is very small. There's standard for a professor. So there's no money in the university system. If government keep on doing that, every year there will be strike. They will agree to do one thing. Tomorrow they will change. They will say no. When it concerns Nigeria system, the thing that concerns Nigerians, the public, the government will say no. Have you heard one day that the senators, as a rep member, both are on strike? That they are not paid. So look at the time it took them recently to budget for this election.
Very sure.
So we don't have, that's the sense of purpose. It's not there. It's not there.
Well, a lot of people have the same mind that you have. That it's possible they just want the government's involvement in education to be totally withdrawn so that it's all private and then they get taxed. Now the poor people are going to have a lot of issues.
Yes, that's it. Because yes, where would the poor people go? If I think the last school fees I paid when I was in Nigeria was 19 naira. That 19 naira includes my accommodation, my school fees, includes exam, sport, everything, medical. 19 naira. And I happen to be what they call hall governor. Every weekend they bring 4 tissue paper to us, to each room. With national that we are paying. So I think my father would have been able to train me. That's the truth. So if you now say school fees, let's prioritize university. You know there'll be issue. Look at the privatization of electricity they did. There's no more light. So it's a very big problem. I will not want to hear or see that. But well, I don't know. But the system is not responding to the yearning of the masses.
Okay, now, but shouldn't we be rethinking this whole higher education thing? Are we not putting too much emphasis on university education at the expense of vocational education and technical education in Nigeria?
You see, in Russia, we understand Russian system very well. They have all those things. Everybody must not go to university. We have polytechnic and technical education. The question is the government. The government is ready to like we have fund those programs. They're ready to fund it. We have those days with my friends when they did technical college at
before Useluma.
Yes. My friend, they have a friend then, Osaro. He can't fish car, but he will fish the car for you. There's a guy in the US now. He fish the car for you. He went to grad school. I got to have one study automobile. So those things were there. I go to teach them with empty hand. In overseas, people that make hair, they have certificates. They put a certificate on the wall. In Russia, that they are certified barber. They can read and what write. People who repair fridges, they can read and write. They learn those things from technical education. Yes, sir? But here we go to roadside and do whatever you want. And you are not certified, you don't even know if you're left or right. There are too many methods of educating people, not only go to the university. Technical education is one of them. Vocational study is one of them. Polytechnic was designed for that. That's why we will say that university and polytechnic are the same. They are not the same. They are designed for different purposes. You understand? Polytechnic would know how to do that course well, how to do it. If you are studying mechanical engineering, you should be able to do something. Welcome to your area of specialization. Because there's many area. But university, the system should be different. University, you are taught how and why. Is that what I mean?
Yes.
That's it. The problem is how. You can just do it. I have this equipment, I want to fix it. But university, then maybe will know how.
Even the history of
yes,
them.
yes, and why. Try different. So they are not the same.
Okay, now because we have very few minutes before we end the show today, and tomorrow is actually International Day of Education, and we're just on our own way setting an agenda for Nigeria education system sector, and the things we expect to see as the year progresses. But we just would have you have your own personal words to our Nigerian permanent mission in the UN as they go out there tomorrow. It's their event. They are sponsoring the first ever edition. Big step. So what should they be talking about when they get to the meeting tomorrow? Let's have that as your last words on the show today.
Yeah, I think they should ask government, I think the Nigeria government, for example, to put an end, permanent end to Eastern strike in Nigeria University. The problem that Nigeria is going to have, they know. Let us solve it once and for all. I lost 2 years in university to strike. Yes. So, and it's not a good one. The budget we should allocate reasonable budget to university and polytechnic system, so that whatever the lecturer and the student need to use in the university, you have it. Above all, you cannot do anything in university without electricity. University don't have electricity at all. How would we go to work? Those machines in engineering, where are we going to use it? I was doing my accreditation. I asked the man who is in charge of our generator to put a generator for me. He told me the cost of buying a diesel per day. I ran away. Yes. So, if we have electricity in university system, I think this will go better.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Professor Ralph Egata. It's good to have you on the show once again, and it's always a delight when you are here. Well, education is a big deal, whether we like it or not, and it's something that we must give attention to. In fact, attention given to education can never be too much. Education should also be made interesting, enlightening, empowering, and it needs a total boost, a revamp, our education sector in Nigeria. We want to have students coming out, making things, creating things, and even getting sponsorship, so that we are our own creators of most of the things we use. And that's how China became a world parts day. They create things. They just, in primary school, you already are taught how to do things and make things for yourself. And I hope that as we are sponsoring the International Education Day for the first time, we're going to have a rethink and things will begin to get better. Everyone is complaining in the country. We're talking about minimum wage, ASU's talking about their welfare, the school environment. Everyone just has one thing or the other to complain. There are placards all over the streets where we're talking about light issues in Edo State especially. But really, hopefully, we'll see a change. And that starts from you voting wise, voting right, picking the right leaders who have your interest at heart. Elections are just a few weeks from now. Get your PVCs and cast your votes for the right candidate. And whatever you see, you will take it if you don't vote. I'm Daisy Abaisa. Once again, thank you so much for being with us on today's edition of Flipside. We'll leave you now.